Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the AOC Pro Cup match between ADN and MiTH-Trust. This is Game 3 of the Best of 3 series, the deciding game of an amazing match. These two teams are of quite incredible caliber and now matched up in this Day 2 of the AOC Pro Cup. It's been an interesting series so far. We saw some awesome plays from the Kells and the Anti-Mage. We saw some, in turn, very powerful plays by Magmus on Mr. Ghost, actually Sanking, of course, but the Han equivalent, as these guys are Heroes of Newerth ex-pros. They were the Team Orange from Malaysia back in Heroes of Newerth, and are now under the guise of ADN, which, if I remember correctly, is Apple's Dreams Net as an acronym. But yeah, a really cool showing from them last time around. They got some awesome team fights, some just great stuff to spectate. So I'm excited for this last game. It's been back and forth to this point, and I really do think that this is going to be one to put in the history books for just awesome clashes and amazing Dota play. So, looking at the Game 3, what do you think, man? Congo Kyle.
Oh man, I'm hoping for sort of the same pace in the early games you saw last round from ADN. They started off the game fantastically. I mean, we saw the rotation to top. First of all, killing off the Doom in the jungle, then rotating immediately to top. I guess they knew the Doom wouldn't have a great start. As I mentioned, Doom not fantastic in the jungle, very low base armor. And they saw it and they grabbed it up immediately. And ADN picking up the Bristleback Visage. Those are, I mean, you cannot ask for a better two picks than that as your first pickup. And Bristleback, as I've mentioned before, is unbelievably strong. Put in the right hands of this case, probably going to be isolated or isolated. They could run it in the off lane on Polishima if they need to. But yeah, put in the right hands, that hero becomes an absolute war machine, and we'll see this game. They do pick up the OD, however, and OD's still quite really powerful in the middle lane. And I guess a lot of teams, I don't often see it in the sort of Southeast Asian Dota, is the power of the dual lane in the solo mid. Bristleback Crystal Maiden could really shut down an OD.
Yeah, it does have some potential there. I'm not sure if that's the approach they want to take or just kind of go for one of the more traditional counters. Looks like Viper and Razor are probably going to be banned out Phase 2 from MiTH-Trust, but there's still plenty of options. Lone Druid, Kunkka, Sniper is kind of coming into the fold as a counter, 1-for-1, so maybe we'll see something like that. But yeah, at the very least, I know that Slicks has played some OD recently. He was played him, I believe, twice in the match that I cast him a couple weeks back, so he is familiar with the hero. He is experienced in playing as him. We'll see how good he is at playing against him in this next game. But the draft is progressing. We do see not only were, of course, Nyx and Slark banned out originally, but now following with the Luna and the Enchantress bans from ADN, maybe signaling another Chen. No, sorry, that was banned out by MiTH-Trust instead. Yeah. So Razor's wide open if that's what they want to go for.
I would go for it immediately. It still is the hardest counter to the OD. Once the OD gets a couple of levels and doesn't get picked off, they do go for the Lone Druid, however. So, as you mentioned, Lone Druid is a strong counter to the OD as well. Once again, Lone Druid lineup specific. If it is going to go into the mid, I put it in the hands of Slicks. I don't doubt he'll be able to control that hero perfectly and try his best to shut down the Outwall Devourer. There actually are a few sort of unorthodox counters to the Outwall Devourer. I've once seen it. It was a very high level pub. I saw two relatively powerful solo mid players go up against each other. It was Broodmother taking on the OD, and Broodmother actually won the lane. Obviously getting a couple of counter sentries down to get his own vision back in the net. I mean, in the web. So I don't know. It's not going to get picked up here, but I'm speaking about sort of unorthodox counters to the Outwall Devourer. But Lone Druid perfectly. And I heard there when you saw the Sanking, and it's going to be hopefully Mr. Ghost once again. Yeah, on that Sanking.
Most definitely. I mean, that guy played it just so well, and I don't think that there's any question about it. This is definitely going to be how they play it. I'm curious to see if they run the aggressive trialing. Bristleback Visage and Sanking could easily limit an IO's potential to hit level 6 at an appropriate time, because just chain pulling, you're going to get it at a decent time period, around 8 or 9 minutes maybe. And now we of course see the Tiny that goes as a symbiote with them, but really if you put out that pressure with a Visage and a Bristleback and an aggro try, you are going to be able to shut down opponents pretty easily, in my opinion. Especially somebody with such low armor as IO. The Quill Spray is going to do a heck of a lot of damage, and that's just going to be fuel to the fire of the Soul Assumption on the back end. So I really do think that unless Myth picks up an amazing support to go with his IO Tiny, they're going to have their work cut out for them on the bottom lane, assuming it's a 3v3 matchup.
Yeah, and look at the same time, I mean, Tiny, relatively a fantastic pickup against the Bristleback as well. I mean, the power of Bristleback obviously comes from his warp path when he gets a couple of levels in the viscous goo and well as his quills. But the craggy exterior just works perfectly against him. It does kind of shut him down quite a bit. But then again, if we have Sand King getting those triple, double bow strikes all the time, Tiny's going to have a bit of a problem. As well as the Lone Druid being there. I mean, we saw the game we casted earlier, the Tiny Wisp combo just absolutely wrecking. They do go for the last pick on the Razor, however, so maybe a little bit of a bait, thinking they're going to put the Lone Druid into the mid and then saying, okay, well, no, we're going to run Lone Druid safely and go aggressive and pick up the Razor instead. They're going to put lots of faith into Mr. Ghost again for controlling that bottom lane if they do decide to go for aggressive, in which they can. I mean, they do have the burst, they have the damage. IO suffers a little bit in an aggressive tri-lane situation, just having basically the stats of a neutral creep at level 1, level 2 until he gets a couple of items. So it's a lane that ADN, they do execute it properly. They can really destroy that aggressive tri-lane, and it's up to the next support to pick up. Yeah, there's still Rubik in the pool, there's still a Shadow Demon, nice defensive support as well. THD, I keep going back to the THD just because of the power it has in the Ice Path, the Dual Breath, the Liquid Fire, and just that close proximity fights that they will probably be involved in mostly here. And it's fantastic against Sand King as well. Once he blinks in with the Epi, you're able to lock him in at Ice Path. So yeah, I mean, I would go for the THD here. It's really tanky on the front lines, and saddle the Rubik. That Rubik or Shadow Demon, that's pretty much all they can go for here. If not, then no, Windrunner. Sorry, I'm wrong again.
Well, I mean, it's a variant pick. It's definitely not what you'd just assume would go with this lineup effectively, but I don't see why not. I mean, if they can get a good shackle shot, if they see some aggressive dives or something like that, the big thing that locks Bristleback down is those hard, long-duration disables, so ranking that up could be used to great effect, and of course they can use Power Shot to farm if they are just facing a more passive lane scenario, but it doesn't look like it. Right now they look like they're geared up to fight, their position, their items, it all looks like it's going to be a 3v3 down bottom for Visage, Sand King, and Bristleback, leaving the Lone Druid farm safe lane top, and of course Slicks to run the mid Razor. Going for an interesting item build, but I'll let you cover that as I'm looking over at the official roster of MiTH-Trust in the Radiant corner. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the AOC Pro Cup here. Starting things off with MiTH-Trust, we are looking at Ready to Rumble, Game 3, the TIE team. Starting off, TNK is running on the Wisp, just full support really, some consumables, some wards. Going to be supporting up, of course, the Tiny, but up to that in a second. First, we see Mashimaru going to be running on the Wind Ranger, running as support as well. This leaves AABBAA to be running on the Boots, first OD on the mid lane, and then KYT on the Clockwork off lane. So it's actually a pretty interesting scenario here, where we're going to have Boots first on 2 mids, but it makes sense for the matchup.
Yeah, and over on the side of ADN, your victors from the last game, putting it back as we hoped to bring us to a third and final game once again on that MVP Sand King. Bristleback being handled by Isolated Visage, this time by XXL, who did relatively well in the first game, getting up to a wicked 6 streak on that Visage once again. Razor, as you mentioned, Boots first Razor as well, so both trying to get away from this static link and all that nonsense, and it's Slicks on the Razor, and then finally, as you mentioned, safe lane Polyshima. It's going to be the Lone Druid who's bringing his bear all the way up to the top, doing a little bit of body blocking with the bear as well. So this is actually a fantastic lineup for the Lone Druid, as I mentioned. Not being one of the stronger picks, unless put in the hands of a player who is extremely competent when playing the Lone Druid, and Polyshima will have to wait and see. I mean, he'll be able to secure the levels. I feel if KYT is able to get a quick pair of boots, or bottom lane maybe. Oh no. Sorry, I saw Isolated running all the way forward.
Well, there's still 2 here with the tether active between the supports, and could go for that, but the one unfortunate thing is he's popped his entire, half his mana pool and gotten very little for it. The Quill Sprays have done almost nothing, so a little bit of a misplay for WTF to start things off, but otherwise they were in a great position. They were kind of feinting a off-lane suicide Bristleback, which is relatively common in the metagame right now, and trying to go in for these supports from the side flank, but MiTH-Trust, they pinged that out immediately. They knew the threat, and as long as the other 2 solo lanes were cautious enough that they're knowing that there could be a support nearby, it really didn't do much harm that they didn't know the lanes initially. So it was really, really nice for them to respond that way. They were able to dodge out most of the quill sprays, be cautious about the rotation from Ghost and Fish, and also deliver some good right clicks into Visage, because he has no armor right now, actually -1% physical damage resistance. They threw in like 4 auto attacks into him, and now he's out of regen and is going to have to rely on whatever his allies pulled up.
Much appreciated.
Did you, by chance, mute your microphone?
I did. Sorry, I moved my chair closer to my PC, so I'm gonna have to repeat everything I said. Okay, what I said was Lone Druid picking up the Orb of Venom, being able to harass KYT Love Z, as you mentioned. I must say the whole nick on that middle lane, and at the same time, yeah, the unstable current in the middle lane will shut down ABBA quite a bit, as he tries to run away with those boots in the middle lane up against the static link. So Slicks is actually doing pretty well, 13 CS, 9 on the Lone Druid, so far so good for ADN in this final game, Game 3, the decider.
Yeah, this is where, for all the marbles here, they're really just trying to step up their game as much as possible, try to get in the right frame of mind. They're getting some good pulls off, getting some nice experience, but now Visage is level 2, Sand King as well, and this is where things start to get a little sticky, specifically with the Viscous Nasal Goo, but of course with all the other very potent nukes as well. So yeah, they have to be very cautious about positioning. The Tiny starting off with a base armor of 0 as well, so if he gets hit by a couple of stacks of VNG, he is going to be taking huge hits. Luckily, he is packing quite a punch with high base damage as well as very powerful combo nukes, but has to be very precise in how he uses those. Mr. Ghost actually whiffing a stun and giving a huge opening for them to go right on top of him. They are doing a lot of damage with the power shot, dropping down the center ward. The last right click, that's the first blood. In the meantime, Lakel's dropping low. Like I said, low armor, low effective HP, but XXL is the one that's probably going to drop next. Pops the Grave Chill to try to get away, but no, there's too much damage coming in from the right clicks and the power shot. And now they just try to dodge out the Bristleback. In the end, it's going to be a 2 for 2, with the first blood, of course, going for the Visage. So things a little bit more favorable for ADN, but it started off awkward. Mr. Ghost whiffing that Burrow Strike, it gave him the opening to be aggressive. Luckily, as we mentioned, luckily for them, I mean, the Wisp is not very potent at this stage in the game. The Spirits do some damage, the movement speed is nice, and they will actually use it to hunt down Mr. Ghost here, but in normal circumstances, they are a little bit outdrafted as far as those supports go, though still coming out with a 1-kill advantage, nevertheless.
Yeah, the best thing there for us there was he was involved in sort of all the kills. He got 1 kill and one assist as well. So getting up the early boots, going to get those treads up pretty fast as well. The Mr. Ghost there was trying to contest the Sentry Ward, trying to bring it down, but IO was already hitting on it, so he just brought in the Tiny. Lakel's picking up another kill for himself as well as that assist, and he already has the phase boots up, so he's going to start dealing enough damage to sort of contest the farm here up against Isolated. And Isolated on the same hand, I like his skill ball a lot, going for the Viscous Nasal Goo this early. And I just want to jump back to the top lane. I just see Lone Druid leading in farm at the moment, so that is pretty much exactly what you want. And he's level 5 at the moment, so Clockwork is going to start having a relatively terrible time. But one of the strong points that Clockwork does have here is the minute he gets at level 6, he's able to rotate into the middle lane and set up a relatively easy kill on the Razor as well, if Razor doesn't have mana, which at the moment he's sitting on 52 mana in this middle lane. A lot of regen as well. So as soon as he gets at level 6, he's able to rotate middle, he's able to pick up a quick kill on Slicks if he can, and that will sort of help MiTH-Trust out a little bit in winning this middle lane, where AABBA is, I wouldn't say struggling, but not having the best of times as an OD in the solo mid.
I'd say he's struggling. I mean, that's 13 denies on top of the 28 CS, so that's a lot of experience that he's not going to be able to pick up. And although Slicks is just about out of mana here, the prisons were doing quite a bit of work. Now they're wearing off, and has a very, very nice component of spells to send the other way. So things are getting pretty bad for him. So they're going to try to rotate. They're going to try to improve the one lane that isn't really working for them, as they expected the Lone Druid matchup to be a little skewed. They're going to try to rotate in mid, and unfortunately not find anything. Slicks heads in, picks up the bottom rune, and Clockwork wastes a rotation. Though now he does have some presence with that level 6.
Yeah, he needs to be careful in the top lane here as well. I mean, still pretty gankable, the Lone Druid, but he sees him immediately and pops off his...
Entangle comes through. This is actually pretty bad for him. Luckily, no phase boots on the bear to pursue, but still, getting entangled a second time. This is huge. Big damage coming out, and they should be able to bring him down. The battery assault doing some work, but can they actually finish him? The bear coming in for more right clicks, but continuously just being slowed down by that battery assault, and they won't chase any further. That could have been an immense kill on a hero that should not drop down to this stage. Instead, Mr. Ghost walking into 2, salve up on the clockwork, and they might be able to turn it around. Yeah, battery assault, cogs in, and Mr. Ghost doesn't have enough mana for the burrow strike. He is going to drop down. Very, very nice Astral Imprisonment, taking out just the amount of mana that the Sand King needed. So now, Slicks using the Invis Rune and his ultimate is going to be able to finish off the clockwork after the Astral Imprisonment ends. Is he going to die for this? Doing a lot of damage with the Plasma Field as well, but doesn't have the auto attack damage to follow through. In the end, they will be able to pick off the clockwork, but took a lot of time to make that happen. Down on bottom lane, a lot of damage coming in, but Isolated is the one to take up the tower, so they're going to get a kill, 1 for 0, as Fish does not take a fall in the end. We'll be able to salve back up to a appropriate health threshold and even clarity to stay on the lane. So that was pretty nice, forcing back the Wind Ranger with some good harassment and then going ahead and getting the kill on the Tiny Under Tower. That's exactly what they wanted to have happen on the bottom lane, but so much shenanigans with the mid, it's hard to say who came out on top there.
It's not even that. I mean, even in the top lane, they try to go on the Lone Druid, and he got another couple of lucky entangles off. I felt if he had focused his bear a bit more onto the IO, he probably could have killed the IO with a couple of entangle procs. But he did get 1 or 2 onto the Wind Ranger, but Wind Ranger just popped off her Wind Run and managed to evade it. But yeah, Lone Druid is getting pretty lucky. I was gonna flip my keyboard if he got another entangle on the clockwork again as they chased him away, but luckily battery assault just a little bit too strong up against the Lone Druid bear. But Mr. Ghost was getting really close to an impale there. I mean, he was almost in range with that last entangle, and unfortunately having to run sort of away from the cogs. But yeah, mid as well, that was fantastic. And as you mentioned, killing off the Tiny underneath his tower, and look at that 8-minute hand-of-Midas on the Lone Druid. So finally we're going to see a Lone Druid drafted and sort of put to its full potential.
Yep, gonna go for some push here. The Rocket Flare gonna pull the creep wave back, but this Spare has plenty of life to tank up and a full resummon available with that Battle Cry, so armor and attack damage galore. It will bring the tower back around 50% with the Demolish passive, and then just pull him back after the fact. So that worked out pretty well. Now that I'm kind of thinking about it in hindsight, the fact of the matter is it was a clockwork trade for a Sand King with that whole mid deal. Yeah. So even though it took Razor a really long time, he still was able to get the better end of the exchange, I would say, because the Sand King, although we've seen what marvelous things Mr. Ghost could do with a Blink Dagger, we've also seen what incredible things he can do without it. And it's just essentially that item, well, I would say is a complete necessity for Sand King is to normally be of any relevancy at all. Mr. Ghost has shown us very clearly that he can be a contributing factor no matter what item set he has been able to acquire.
We actually had XSL here in the middle lane. I was waiting for the OD to go ahead and banish Slicks so Slicks could get the Unstable Current proc off and then maybe look for a Grave Chill to slow him down and beat him down in the lane, but XSL just moved out of the way, and with the there's no vision, so it's quite strange they didn't spot him out there, but he walked away and immediately they were able to get that combo off. It would have been a very, very quick and easy kill for ADN, but yeah, relatively close, 10-minute mark, 1,000 gold lead for ADN and about a 1,400 experience lead as well. So I think for once, I mean, even in the last game where they were sort of dominating throughout the laning phase, they actually could be kills here.
Yeah, probably. Grave Chill into Burrow Strike will connect. He has the ability to throw that shackle, but man, does that a lot of damage from that Soul Assumption. Low strength Wind Ranger, not able to win run away from that. Now we do see Slicks going underneath the tower, needs one more right click, he gets it. Oh, the Visage Soul Assumption once again, cleaning things up. The Battery Assault, though, not going to be enough to bring down Slicks with that massive damage from the Link as well as his ulti. Now Lakel's coming in, getting stunned up, and this has just been a slaughter for ADN. They just completely devoured their opposition here. We're going to see that the OD is forced to retreat, and that's just going to be a bunch of clean kills. While Lone Druid does his thing up top, he gets the tower, while they're getting a huge kill advantage. And I got to say, that was mismanagement. I mean, they had a Observer Ward in place, I believe, and they just kind of let them walk right into him. I'm not too sure about that.
that was a bit unfortunate. I mean, they won't be able to kill Isolated here. Isolated could actually turn around here if he wanted to. He could turn around and do a lot of damage to the IO, but he's taking quite a bit of harassment from the Wisp spirits. So yeah, he's gonna have to back off. But that was a horrible team fault. I mean, Lakel's is, I don't know what's going on. He's just not playing like the usual Lakel's we see. I mean, running that far in, knowing that there wasn't going to be TP support for a couple of seconds, and knowing that OD cannot walk into 4 heroes and deal the amount of damage. I mean, he only has, I mean, he's level 9, so he has picked up the level in the Sanity's Eclipse. But at the same time, I mean, look at this. He's just going to get beat down again, once again. And meanwhile, Lakel's does get a kill on the...
That was actually a really cool maneuver. They threw the Clockwork in. Instead of relying on the imprecise hook shot with all these creeps and such, all they do is just shotgun him in. They lob him in with the toss ability, and he gets a battery assault cogs right on top of him. So it's really cool. We also see, following a imprisonment, a very nice shackle shot that they really can't follow through on because they are completely outgunned at this stage. But I don't know, I like these little cool tricks that MiTH-Trust are pulling out. Yes, they have been losing. They lost that last fight extremely, but they have things going for them. They were doing a lot of great double, triple pulling in their own jungle to get take a lot of experience away from the Bristleback, as well as the fact that they have now gotten the relocate on the Wisp, and they do have Tiny pretty much ready to rumble as a result. But yeah, they've been doing that right. They've been doing these really cool little pick-off plays that force the Lone Druid back, so their Tier 2 is not currently in jeopardy. And yeah, they really are ready to kind of turn this fight around after Slix's double damage dispels.
Well, Vanguard picked up now by Isolated, so he's become super tanky, and he has got the casual cloak as well, so not a lot of damage going to be dealt to him by AABBAA, and he can actually go down here.
This is actually really bad. They're going to have to relocate on this. They are going right here on top of Mr. Ghost. They toss him up, doing a lot of damage, but the mechanism from the Razor keeps him up, and it's actually TNK that's in retreat. They still kill off Fish. Slick's draining a bit from Lakel's. He has a lot of damage to spare, though, and the relocate will just pull them away as the tether reconnects here. KOT in a bad spot, won't be able to use its ulti to escape the cast animation too long, and forcing them in full retreat. This means that their Tier 1 will most likely fall, and of course Lone Druid will get some more pot shots on the Tier 2.
They just have so much potential as fighting as 4, and it's sort of accredited to the Bristleback and just his overall tankiness and his ability to, I mean, look how much damage.
They're going to go for this. A nice shackle shot to start things off. They TP in with the OD, has the ulti available, steals Cement, and will drop the hammer in just a moment, still wanting to right-click down the Razor before going for the AoE. Where's that ulti? Sanity's Eclipse still not used. I'm kind of astonished why not, but there it goes. Finally drops down a little bit too late. The Bristleback walks away with 14 HP. Or no, that's Mr. Ghost with 14 HP, dodging up the spirits. What the Burrow Strike. 100 HP on the Bristleback. Oh, the Rocket Flare. Mr. Ghost almost got away, but sniped in the end.
But the meantime,
deny from TNK. No deny from either side. We'll see in a second, but XXL will be caught out by that hook shot. And it looked like the Familiar Bird didn't have any more stacks of right-click damage, and TNK cancels his last auto attack, so what could have been a deny from both sides ended up being a deny from neither. But in the end, IO gets it, and they get the kill on the Visage as well. So really, things are looking back in favor of MiTH-Trust after that exchange.
Well, I don't know, they lost a Tier 1 tower in the middle, there's a Tier 1 tower in the top. And,
I actually didn't catch that nice push from Lone Druid.
Yeah, Lone Druid, I was trying to mention before the second little team fight broke out. Lone Druid actually got the Tier 2 tower in the top lane as well. So that's 2 towers down. I mean, they're still ahead in gold by about 6,000, and experience as well, sitting a little bit ahead. But, you know, Mechanism now up on the Razor, and I spoke about their potential to push us 4 and sort of keep up this pressure as they have been doing. It kind of forces Tiny out of his farming mode and to go and try and participate in most of the team fights.
Yeah.
And although Tiny does fantastically, don't get me wrong, he does great in big team fights, especially with the Avalanche as well as the Toss. It just, you know, he does benefit a lot more from sort of absolutely uncontested free farm, as you see bottom lane, more kills.
Yeah, essentially. They get the Overvenom slow, it's enough for the Burrow Strike, and he's all by himself. So they're going to be able to take not only tower, but the Clockwork's life, which is a really big deal. And if I said, I can't even remember what I said, but if I said that the MiTH-Trust have this game in their favor, that was completely me misspeaking. They're looking a lot better than they did like 5 minutes ago. They are putting up a fight, they are getting some things going for them, but it's just not enough. They still have yet to end the killing spree of Isolated on the Bristleback. He's got his Hood and Vanguard, and is able to tank to no end. And now we're seeing, moving in, more farm on the Sand King, more push coming out at all angles. They're about to take down the second to last Tier 2, forcing the fortification here. MiTH-Trust really needs something big.
Yeah, forcing out the glyph on the tier 2 is always fantastic. It gives you the sort of the ability to keep pushing, maybe get a couple of kills and take a Rax, or just back off and go straight for the Roshan. And I mean, oh, actually bottom lane.
Yeah, this is awkward. They missed the shackle shot, missed the avalanche, and now Isolated is right back in it. Gonna go to town. Was looking at TNK, but he's gonna relocate away. So just switching it over to the Wind Ranger and getting the kill through this Quill Sprays. Now locking in Clockwork, blocking off the hook shot. They're gonna get the kill on him as well. Lakel's. Oh my goodness. At least he has the movement speed from Drums and Phase. Otherwise, that would have been devastating to lose him as well. In the end, they lose 2 towers on bottom. 4 heroes if you get the Clockwork's first death, and that was with the Wisp relocating in. They just have nowhere to fight.
This is exactly what I said. They have the ability to go back and Roche, or if they pick up a couple of kills, they can go straight for the Rax, and that's exactly what they're doing. Luckily, there's relatively short buyback time, but Isolated is going to walk straight back up the ramp and just wreck everybody. Watch this.
And this is dangerous, but Mechanism cooling back down. Oh, Isolated. They're going to turn on him, but putting so much focus into somebody so tanky is going to cost them a lot of cooldowns. Turn around, Soul Assumption to bring Wind Ranger down to 14 HP. It's their time to walk away with the most minimum amount of health possible. But yeah, they will still be able to barely skirt on out of there without losing one, but they lost some hits on their tier 3, now down to 400 HP.
Yeah, and now they can go back and go for Roche if they want to. I mean, they've got the, I think they have the Radiance coming over to the Bear now. Yep, there comes the Radiance over on the Courier. So Bear essentially sits in one lane now, pushes it out, while the other 4 kind of just push down as hard as they can, and that's just going to continually annoy the crap out of MiTH-Trust. And there goes the Roshan. So relatively, I would say relatively easy game at the moment for MiTH-Trust. For ADN, who is sitting at a 10,000 gold lead and a 5,000 gold lead. It's not as big as the 50,000 gold lead we saw in the earlier games today, but it's a substantial amount for the underdogs in this series.
Yeah, it's just getting, kind of making their name known. This is what they really needed to do to edge their way into the scene a little bit more. And if they can advance a few more rounds in AOC, a winner bracket, KYT going for the snipe, doesn't get it, and just feeds his life away. But yeah, if they can take not only this best of 3 to knock MiTH-Trust down to the lower bracket, but advance a little bit further in a couple more top rounds, they are definitely making a name for themselves. They're definitely showing themselves that it's not Han Trash, it's just another very potent team coming out of Malaysia. So we will see a lot of TP support coming up top. Going to try to relocate away. Will they get the stun? No. But it's only Wisp. They didn't take out Tiny, which is the whole point of that. So he's going to be sent back home, and Tiny might be walking into 2 others. He's going to get a TP off. So he will succeed, but Wisp, I don't think so, buddy. Going to get locked down.
Yep. Bristleback OP. So strong. This is basically the Fnatic of Southeast Asia. The former Han champions to Dota 2 and just wreck everybody. Sorry, I'm a massive Fnatic fanboy. But yeah, it's so amazing to see a team. I mean, they're relatively unknown. This is my first time casting them, and I must say I am impressed. And it just shows you that a team coming from a game, I don't want to get myself in trouble by saying that it's somewhat similar to Dota, but the mechanics are all there. They understand the game, and they're playing it practically perfectly at the moment. And against a team like MiTH-Trust, who have been playing, as you said, for about 3 years, since 2011, being invited to International 1. I think they were at International 2. They were. So. And then they played the qualifiers.
I know they were in the qualifiers for TI3, but
they didn't qualify for TI3.
Not too sure, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's too much of an overstep to say that the games are mechanically similar. I mean, when it originally came out, Han was identical to Dota, just with less heroes. So I mean, it's just the concrete ideas are there, and the cool thing is that they're playing plenty of heroes that aren't duplicates. So they're showing that they aren't just set in their ways and very familiar with those. I mean, the Sand King play obviously shows a lot of experience from Mr. Ghost on Magnus, but you don't have to just play what you knew back then. You can adapt, you can improve, and we've seen that in plenty of different hero picks, including this really good Visage from Fish. He's been all over the place with a hero that most people struggle to learn because of how complicated it is to micromanage the familiars alongside the hero and to do that optimally. But here they go, pushing on the tier 3. We'll see MiTH-Trust essentially last stand. The pipe pops though, and that means OD's ulti will fall on almost deaf ears. Mr. Ghost gets a burrow quickly on Lakel's. He gets the overcharge to limit some of the damage incoming, but that ulti does very, very little to Visage. With that Gravekeeper's Cloak still up, AABBAA really didn't make anything happen. The pipe nullifying what was left of it, and yeah, tier 3 is definitely theirs now, if it wasn't before.
They got the glyph, so they might be able to hold it off for a little bit longer, but as you mentioned, AABBA doing absolutely nothing with that ultimate there, and they could try a little bit to shut it down, and they do get a shackle action after that.
They're going to try to relocate in. Big damage coming out from Tiny shortly, but he doesn't find anybody to lock down. In fact, it's just Mr. Ghost dropping some eppies before sandstorming in and apparently succeeding in his invisibility from this position inside the base. Lakel's will be entangled up, will be dropped down, and they're just going to go head back to the racks and finish their job. This has just been a real slugfest from ADN. They've been putting up their dukes and showing what for. This has been really nice activity from them across the board. I mean, the pipe pickup, of course, was instrumental to this high ground push this early in the game. Otherwise, they'd have to delay it a little bit more. But this is them not losing a single hero and still having Aegis on the Razor, whose BKB is almost up. Like, they just sieged, killed 3 or 4, took 2 lanes of racks, and they still feel like they're at full strength. A couple of urn charges, and they're still ready to rumble.
They're 100% at full charge, and they're going to go straight back to the top lane now and take that last lane of racks. There's not much that MiTH-Trust can do. If you look at the hero levels, I mean, they're sitting so far behind. I mean, IO and both supports sitting at level 8, where you have a level 11 Sand King and a level 11 Visage with those level 2 familiars, just doing so much damage. I mean, AABBA is trying his best here to bring them back into the game, but he just has had a horrible time. And now he does have a 4-staff, but I don't think... Oh, Tangle, there we go. Tangle 4-staff, and he's... Oh, dead. He's dead.
He's dead. We can be pretty conclusive about that one.
And the net worth as well. I mean, looking at the Lone Druid, 14,000, 11,000, and 11,000 on the Bristleback and Razor, respectively. They're just way ahead now. Gold Graph sitting at 20,000, Experience Graph at about 13,000. There's no stopping ADN now, and they're just going to sort of walk into the space now and take the last tower, and there's absolutely nothing that MiTH-Trust can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're looking at over 20,000 gold advantage, 14,000 experience advantage. Walking into the base, they can do nothing to Bristleback here. Popping the pipe, having the Blade Mail Vanguard, and just saying, come at me, bros. This is too easy. Popping the BKB, Slicks does get hit up by the hook shot, but really, who cares? 224 bonus damage. He can halfway farm the fountain right now if he doesn't worry about OD's 4-staff. So GGs do come out. The final lane of racks and the mega creeps are up and at them. ADN take the last 2 games of the series and just show that, yeah, you can out-rat us, but when it comes to fighting, we have something to show. And ADN take the 2 last games of the series, making it a 2-1 in their favor. And a lot of people, especially the ones who didn't know who ADN was and just kind of betted with the odds, are very sad right now because they underestimated a very powerful team with some incredibly talented players. So I am looking forward to see what X-Orange, Applez Dreams Net brings to the table in the rest of the AOC Cup and as well as in their future careers. This looks really promising.
Yeah, and like I said, the return for the rares and stuff is crazy. I mean, it was a 31 to 69% and in favor of MiTH-Trust, and unfortunately, going the way of the underdogs, as we always love to see. We always love a good fight, and I feel this game. I was really hoping the third game would be a lot closer, but yeah, wow, well played ADN, and just running away with this game completely and just fantastic. I mean, once again, Mr. Ghost and everyone. I mean, didn't do great this game, but I think. MVP isolated, just insane, and Lone Druid as well. I mean, played perfectly, just farmed up a storm, and in the end, fantastic play, and ADN take it 2-1.
Very nicely done. Great action from them, and that is going to conclude the series for us today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. 2-1 in favor of ADN. A very nice showing, and that will conclude the broadcast for us. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, as much as I'm sure Kyle did. But that is going to be it for us. So hopefully you guys will be able to tune into the AOC Pro Cup in the future. It's going to be going on essentially all this week. Check it out on dotatalk.com. It's up at the top there. You can check the event for the AOC Pro Cup. But it is a great event with some amazing teams, and I can't wait to see some more from it. But we're going to have to wait at least until tomorrow. It has been 2 nice best of 3s to round us out for today. And I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at tomorrow for matches, but you can, like I said, check it out all at dotatalk.com, and it's always going to be some really solid play from these teams. So yeah, that's it. If you guys want to check us out as casters, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Although a little bit one-sided to commentate this one, it was still a pleasure. And you can look us up on Twitter, twitter.com/blazecasting and twitter.com/CongoKyle, as well as facebook.com/CongoZA for my friend Congo here. But that's going to conclude it for us. Shout out once again to AOC for sponsoring this tournament, providing some great hardware with monitors and televisions in general, but specifically for their contribution to the esports scene here in the Southeastern Asia. So shout out to AOC, shout out to Dota Talk and DatBet as well, and that's going to be it for us today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and you guys have a good evening.